Well, everyone, I am really excited to introduce our new host. So exciting. I want everybody to meet Emily. Emily, say hello.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm Emily Ray.
Emily Ray.
Emily Ray. I'm from Hopkinsville Community College in Kentucky. I'm the marketing manager there. So I'm super excited to be here.
And how long have you been an NCMPR member? And how long have you been in marketing for community colleges and then in marketing for life?
That's a lot of mathing.
I know.
So I've had 2 stints in higher ed. So I was an NCMPR member both times. So I'm going to say in all, I've been an NCMPR member for maybe 8 years. I'm thinking. So, you know, when I was in higher ed and then left, came back. So have to add those numbers together. I had to think about it a little bit.
I get that, you know, and on this program, we don't call it mathing. We call it matting.
Oh, okay. Of course. Of course.
That's right. That's right.
I have to work your name in where I can.
Of course. That's the whole purpose of this thing. So coming on board to this, what are some things you're looking forward to as a co-host?
Well, I would say like a year or so ago, something kind of clicked in me and I just decided like I need to start trying some new things. Like it's just something that I need to do. So one of those new things that I did was I went through the NCMPR Leadership Institute. So that was
number one. Yeah.
Yes, I was number 3 this past graduating class. So that was one of the new things that I did. And so, I kind of feel like that about this experience too. Like I'm just excited to try something new and kind of stretch my communication skills a little bit. I've never podcasted before, so it's brand new to me.
Yeah, and the most exciting part about it for me is each month we get to have a conversation and really just talk to somebody who is really good at what they do about what we do. So we just get to kind of like, you know, converse about what we do. And then people have to listen to it, I guess. And we get so many like love letters and stuff. You're going to have to tell your...
I can't wait for the love letters.
Your mail folks to just...
So I need a mail slot at the college just for my love letters.
Yeah, it's just like Miracle on 34th Street. Every Thursday, they march in with these bags of mail and just dump them on my desk. And that's what I do all weekend. So thank you. Thank you to all our listeners. Who's going to send me my first love letter?
I'm ready for my first love letter.
You can check the show notes for Emily's address and just make sure you route all those letters to her. Right. So is there anything in the world that you believe you're the first person to have ever done it?
Oh my gosh. I don't think so. That's a really interesting question. Maybe
okay, we're gonna. Sorry, I'm gonna withdraw. I'm just looking at the show notes. Is she the first person ever to? And then it trails off. So I thought that was a lead in to something.
The squirrels got a hold of Jacqueline, I guess.
Is she the first person ever to? Okay.
I completely didn't finish the rest of that sentence. So where you're going with that, Matt, is I think she's the first person to ever say, when I grow up, I want to be in community college marketing.
Okay, I did say that last time, like on my interview thing.
It's all part of the chit chat. I hope this actually makes it into the episode. Really, this whole bit is amazing.
I mean, this is nothing but pure squirrels right here, just straight up squirrels.
Yeah, I'm just like Ron Burgundy and Anchorman. I just read whatever is on the teleprompter. Whatever's there. That's what I'm reading.
I haven't been the first person to do anything. I can tell you, I wait around for everything. I wait for everybody else to do all the cool stuff. And then I'm like, is the coast clear? It's time for me to go. So I'm not the first person to have done anything. I wait until the coast is clear.
I'm trying to think because wouldn't it be hard to know if you were the first person to have done something? I just don't think it's possible. You can't do something and then be like, oh, I was the first person ever to do that. Somebody else after that has to say, hey, you were the first person to do that, right?
Congratulations, Emily. You were the first person to say that working at community colleges was their dream job.
Wait, tell me more about community colleges being your dream job.
Yeah, so I actually said this in an interview the first time I got a job at Madisonville Community College, and they were like, what? I was like, no, really, like, this is my dream job. So kind of what happened is, like, my journey in higher ed began with myself being a community college student. So okay. I was a first gen graduate. I'm a first gen college graduate, and I started out at the community college, at Madisonville Community College, and it was just good for me. I, gained a lot of self-confidence in what I was doing as a student, that I could be successful. And so that's kind of where I got started. And then, so when I graduated, I graduated with my associate's degree, and I was transferring to university. And my mom was a big influence on me of choosing communication, specifically PR, as a career goal. So when I got into my PR classes at my university, one of the things that we were talking about was different sectors you can work in as a communicator. And of course, we talked about education. And I was like, you know what? Like, I really feel like that's perfect for me. The community college meant a lot to me. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to go back to Madisonville. I want to go to MCC, and I want to be their communications person. And so, funny enough, within, I guess, 4 years, that's what I was doing. So I got hired at Madisonville Community College in the same system that I'm in now, and worked there for 5 years or so. Was a one-person department, so I learned a lot. You learn a lot when you're a one-person department. And then I went away from higher ed for a little bit, and I love higher ed so much, I got the opportunity to come back to Madisonville again. And I've transferred now to Hopkinsville, which is about 30 miles south of Madisonville, so I'm close. And it's just, we're not high rolling in higher ed, right? Nobody chooses to go in, except Matt. Matt apparently is high rolling.
That's me. Known for it.
Yeah, but I would say most of our listeners, other than Matt, are not feeling like they're living the glamorous life necessarily, working in higher ed marketing. But
I don't know what you're talking about. There's like King of England, community college marketing professional, and they're almost tied. They're almost tied. But
I keep doing it, not, like I said, not because of money, but I do keep doing it because I believe I really do believe in the mission of community colleges. So it's important.
Love of the game. Love of the game.
Yeah.
Well, we are so excited and honored to have you co-host this podcast, and it's going to be a ball.
I hope so. Thank you, though, Matt. I'm excited to be here.
In this episode, we sit down with Lisé Freking, NCMPR's 2024 National Rising Star of the Year. Lisé is the Director of Strategic Marketing and Communications at Dakota County Technical College and Inver Hills Community College in Minnesota. That's 2 colleges. She talks to us about what it's like to work in marcom at 2 different institutions, and she shares her best multitasking tips. We also discuss the importance of marcom professionals having a seat at the leadership table, and she gives advice for folks coming from the corporate sector into the public sector, higher education. Really excited about this conversation with Lisé. Well, Lisé, welcome to the podcast. The first thing I want to start with is you are the 2024 NCMPR National Rising Star of the Year Award winner. So congratulations for that. What I would like you to do, this is one of my favorite things to do, is you're in the audience, right? You know you've been nominated for this thing. We're sitting in the ballroom in Seattle, and at the time has come, the announcer says, our National 2024 Rising Star of the Year is Lisé Freking. Walk us through the next stuff that happens, how you felt, the emotion in the air and all of that as you're walking up to stage?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me to share my insights. I have to say that experience, knowing that I won the National Rising Star Award for NCMPR, must be a little bit how Oscar winners feel. That is what first went through my head and through my heart. Like you really picked me like this. It's unbelievable that you picked me, and honestly, what an honor. I think similarly to Oscar winners, you hope you don't fall up the stage, on the stairs to the stage, rather, on your way to accept the award. So again, it was quite the honor.
Totally believe that. And as you get up to the podium and you're thanking people, like what's going through your head?
That I wouldn't be standing in front of those of my colleagues at NCMPR if it honestly really weren't for my marketing team back in Minnesota. I had 2 colleagues with me that day. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without the help from my stellar team.
So, Lisé, the NCMPR Rising Star Award is always awarded to a professional who's been in marcom for less than 5 years. So how long have you been at Inver Hills and DCTC?
I will be celebrating my 5-year anniversary in the middle of July. So just right under that 5-year mark for me. Great.
You've been there for 5 years, and it sounds like you work at 2 separate institutions. So how does that work? Do you have 2 different job descriptions? And just let us know how that all works out for you.
Yes, I am what we are considered to be a shared service. So as the Director of Strategic Marketing and Communications, I indeed manage 2 colleges. Both colleges have around 2,000 students. And my team of I guess 7 of us, or total of 8 of us rather, manage marketing and communications across 2 colleges. So our 2 colleges are about 10 miles apart. So I have 2 different offices. So I often go between campus to campus, or again, my team does a lot of remote work as well.
Are you are those 2 colleges part of a system? Or, how did that structure end up happening in the first place?
I don't know the full history of it, but yes, DCTC and Inver Hills are part of the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities. So there are, I think it's 33 other colleges and universities that report up to a broader system office.
Yeah, that's how I work for the Kentucky Community and Technical College System, and that's how we are too. We have 16 colleges, so I find it interesting, like the thought of like going back and forth between 2 colleges, and you have 2 offices. Do you just kind of feel like you're a mobile office, or?
I would consider it to be that I'm mobile. My prior job at a corporation, I used to do a lot of traveling, so I'm used to being on the road, if you will, used to working out of a hotel room if needed. So to me, it wasn't completely out of the question to be able to manage 2 different organizations, if you will, and being remote. I think the one thing out of COVID that has helped is the ability to conduct Zoom meetings and webinars remotely and have everybody else have that mindset that the job is getting done, even though you might not see us on campus every day.
Yeah. Are there... do the 2 colleges have 2 different specialties? Like, are there different ways that you go about marketing the separate colleges differently from each other?
Yes, since DCTC is a technical college and Inver Hills is our community college, they each have their own value propositions, if you will, key messaging, their own logo, their own brand colors. So with that, though, we also have dual marketing capabilities. So we often will dual brand a postcard, for instance, out to the community. A lot of our dual messaging out on some joint chamber ads, for instance, and things like that. We also work with the mindset and mantra of build once, deploy twice. So even if we have a singular flyer for the technical college, we will just rebrand it and maybe put on some different value propositions if we use it for a community college. So, and clearly the programs for the most part are different across both as well.
That makes a lot of sense to me. That's what I always talk with my team about is how are we scaling this up? How can we use this in multiple ways and split it apart? Are there, I imagine, working between two places that you've become an expert multitasker. Do you have any tips or tricks to share with the rest of us that pretend we're good at it?
Well, I would say I'm an organizer by nature. So if you need a party planned, count me in. So I think that helps with being able to manage two colleges and staff across both as well. Different personalities also from faculty and administration, and just being able to work in that realm. I am a list maker, so I start every morning with a cup of coffee after walking the dog. Start with a cup of coffee and a new sheet of paper and start a new list for the day and prioritize what needs to get done. As working in communication, certainly things fly in where I need to shift, but I think I have a good sense of an ability to prioritize what needs to get done for both colleges.
I'm jealous of your ability to actually sit and make a list. I sit and start a list, and then the squirrels start hitting at me and I start doing stuff. And then about 3 hours in, I'm like, I should have made a list.
Yes. Well, the greatest satisfaction is to actually cross something off the list. So I've been known, even after completing a task, to add it to my list to then cross it off to make it feel like I've accomplished something for the day.
Nice, like the checklist manifesto. It's one of my favorite books that I never implemented fully.
Lisé, you were talking about your to-do list and checking off. I was reading about you, and I did see that you said that you were a project manager at heart, which is interesting and comes in handy. So do you use a project management system, especially between two institutions? It seems like that would be a lot to juggle. So do you use a system, or do you kind of have your homegrown thing that you like to do? Or I know as marketers, we are often looking for ways to be more efficient. So do you have like your favorite go-to method?
I don't use a project management system for my own tasks. If you could see my notebook next to me here, I actually have probably 3 different lists going. One of those is a personal list of things I need to get done in my personal life. Again, I think it just goes to my past experience of being a project manager for a large corporation and on a multi-million-dollar project, and making sure we can get to market as soon as possible, and knowing all of the ins and outs to make something sing. So other than that, my team for specific marketing projects, we do use a project management system called Jira. I think it is by Ed Lattison. So if our clients, if you will, have a project to create a postcard, to create a monitor slide, they can enter that project into our Jira project management system, and then myself and another woman on the team can assign it out as needed to the rest of the team.
Yeah, I'm sure that's helpful, having staff across those two institutions. That's interesting. You do make me feel better about my to-do list, though, because I have lots of to-do lists and post-it notes, and I have to redo them all every now and then, just because, like Matt said, the squirrels get involved at some point, and you have to kind of regroup. So thanks.
We use Jira too. So pulling this project manager thread a little bit, this is the part of the podcast where sometimes people are like, oh, Matt. But just curious what project management workflow you like to use. Are you an agile person, a waterfall person, a mixture of the two?
I would probably say a mixture. It honestly, I have the ability to be strategic and think what's going to happen down the road, what roadblocks are we going to hit, and within my skill set is, I think, to avoid roadblocks and to find ways around if we do hit a roadblock. I always say I'm known for not taking no for an answer, so I will find a way to go over, under, through, around, whatever I need to do to reach that end goal state.
That's an excellent skill to have. And, as we're building through projects and team members are working on things, how do you work through people kind of unbundling their workflows? The question is personal to my team, is that sometimes, we as creatives can get assigned a task and then we're like, got it. And then we go into our little world. And then eventually we come out of our world and we're like, here it is, right? But as the leader, you're like, but where are you in the thing? So how do you go about that with your team? Having them show where they're at and how they're making progress across a project?
Being new to higher education, first and foremost, I made sure I understood what everyone was doing in their particular role. So, for instance, I have 2 web developers that report to me. I'm not a web developer, but given my past experience, I know enough to be dangerous and to talk like I know what I'm doing.
Enough to get in trouble, but not out of trouble.
Exactly. Don't ask me to code, but I can tell you when something's wrong, and please fix it. I also have 2 graphic designers that report to me, a social media marketer, and then a photographer/writer, if you will. So I think some of the first steps I took was to understand what each of them are doing in their role and where we as a small team across 2 colleges can cross over. So for instance, one of my web developers actually is a photographer. So in a pinch, he can go to an event and photograph. His photographing skills are wonderful, just like my 2 other photographers. So I think having that base understanding for my team and what they can do and where I can help them grow. I found out one of my graphic designers actually can write really well. So I invite them to write ad copy instead of myself or the other project manager if needed. I think I'm also really good at asking questions. In fact, I just won a staff award last week for asking the right questions at the right time.
Hey, right next to the NCMPR Rising Star Award.
Exactly. As you may know, part of my background, I am a lawyer by education and a journalist by education. And I think both of those degrees helped me learn how to ask questions and not be afraid to ask questions. So I am known as the question asker on campus, and even willing to ask the hard questions and tough questions that no one else wants to ask. Along with that, I would add, I do believe input and feedback is very important. So I gather that, get any insights that I can from my team and for others on campus on various projects. But I also say I also always reserve the right to say no.
Very important trait to have.
Absolutely.
As they say, no is a complete sentence.
Well, Lisé, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. I want to talk about a presentation that you've given to your cabinet last summer that was that you presented at your NCMPR district conference. So can you tell us about that presentation, what you presented on, and what you shared with cabinet?
Yes, I presented on the topic of don't just invite me to dessert. And the idea behind that was, as marketers and communicators, we're often left out of the room where it happens, as Hamilton says. And I like to be in the know and know what is going on so we can help our clients, if you will. So I did present that to cabinet, also presented it at the NCMPR District 5 as a quick take session. And just to keep in mind that marketing is not an end service. We need to be at the front of a strategy, of a project, so it goes smoothly for everyone. Because if we're not at the front end, what happens? Things get tossed over the wall to marketing because our clients think we're just an end service versus a strategic partner. So for me, it's very important to be at the table, have a seat at the table as a strategic partner. So when when others get at the end of a project and they hear me say no, and they don't like to hear no, if they would have invited me on the front end, they wouldn't have heard no. So I think it's very valuable to be involved in strategic discussions. In the words of Shirley Chisholm, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring in a folding chair. And those wise words of wisdom, I also lead the Women's Employee Resource Group across the Minnesota State college and university system. I had a participant actually tell me that she puts a folding chair in her car just for those purposes.
I love the demonstrative display. That's awesome. I like that. So I do, that absolutely is necessary, that as marcom professionals, we do have a seat at that table. A lot of times as professionals, we may find that we are on the outside more than we would like to be, or we feel is appropriate to do our job the best that we can. So what is your advice for getting leadership to understand that you need to be there with them making the decisions from the beginning?
One thing I've tried to do is to build allies across both colleges. So if I'm not in the room, at least I have an ally in the room who says, we actually need marketing to check in on this project. So I think that first and foremost, again, is just an important skill to have. And don't be afraid to ask to be in the room. That said, I have shown up at meetings and have been asked who invited her, but that's okay. I think it's more important to be in a meeting as an uninvited guest, if you will, than to hear things through the rumor mill. One of the other things I've learned to do is to speak the language of higher education and the words of academia. So that might be words such as, melt, summer melt.
Right.
I didn't know what that word was before. Scaffolding, didn't know what that word meant in the higher education realm previously. So learning those key words and being able to use them effectively to show that I am indeed one of the team and indeed am a trusted participant and collaborator in a particular project.
When you're talking with leadership and working with them on reaching goals, how do you explain to them, you're probably not my target audience on this? I'm sure that oftentimes is a difficult conversation. Leadership wants to see what we're doing and be aware all the time. So how do you handle that?
Indeed, I do remind leadership, faculty, and staff that they are not my target audience to receive some of the advertising we do or outreach efforts that we put forward. I do show them the pretty pictures. So just like this podcast, right? Can you make it pretty? They do like to see the pretty pictures. But along with that, I try to be data driven as well and show them the ROI. So we often, I will put out monthly reports with respect to how some of our digital ads have performed, how we have brought students to our website, for instance. The other thing I will show are social media metrics and engagement on social media on our platforms. Hopefully, all in all of these pieces help to paint a picture of what marketing does and the value that we bring.
Yeah, and there's a certain point where we just have to realize that the person questioning us is not ever going to come on board, and we just have to be like, okay, that was great. I'm curious with this presentation to Cabinet, was there a specific catalyst? Was there something that happened that made you go, you know what, time for me to spin up a presentation and talk to people about this?
I would say the catalyst was someone trying to explain what marketing does and not having the experience and expertise, knowledge and know-how of truly what marketing does. So I invited myself to a cabinet meeting and suggested to speak to the subject matter expert and allow me to explain what everybody on my team does and the value that we bring. One of the other things I talked about to cabinet is a day in the life without marketing. And if marketing wasn't doing everything that we were doing, writing blogs, creating digital ads, presenting on social media, taking photos, if we weren't doing all of these valuable things to help roll out the red carpet to students, we wouldn't have students on campus at all.
I love that idea of painting the pain, it's a wonderful life of marketing. So in this presentation, you're presenting to cabinet. Who all is there? And then how did they react as you're giving this presentation?
I had 60 minutes to present 60 pages. I talked really fast. I got a few questions at the end, but I really felt that it was my job to educate the educators and, again, really show them what the marcom team does and what we are responsible for, and that each and everybody on the marketing team is a valued teammate. And without any one of us, it would mean there's a cause and effect. So without a photographer, you won't have photos for the website or for social media or for our Flickr album, right? Without graphic designers, we wouldn't be able to create digital marketing ads. So really just trying to show that cause and effect of the value that we bring to the colleges, even though leadership was not seeing our digital ads, again, because going back to the fact that they are not our target audience.
And so I'm wondering, how did your leadership react after that, and how did they change in any way? Did they approach your department differently, or any kind of realizations that they had afterward?
Similarly to me feeling like I needed to speak in their higher education academia speak, I did find some leaders coming back and having a better understanding of what everybody on my team does, as well as the time it takes for us to do things. We often hear, can you just create this flyer? Can you just come to an event and take photos? Can you just create this postcard? And there is no just about it. The marketing team, as you all know, there's a lot of magic that happens behind the scenes, and they make it look easy because they are professionals at what they do. They are the subject matter experts. So I think if nothing else, I showed that there is some magic that the team does, and there is no just in what we do. And when I give a response that we can't turn something around on a dime, there's a reason for that. Even though when we are asked to turn something around on a dime, the team is so professional, they will get it done.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a big improvement to me, but I also know that's kind of a never-ending cycle there too. It's like sometimes we need constant reminders that, yeah, we are busy. We have a big queue of work too, and we may need you to wait to get really what you need. So that's really great.
Yeah, educate, re-educate, then educate again.
Yes.
All of this makes me feel really blessed because I am on the leadership team for my college. And not only that, but the president has told me a few different times, you're the expert at marketing. I don't really know much about this. I'm curious. So anytime we have conversations, it's really he's approaching from a place of curiosity and wanting to understand more about what we do. And I'm lucky because I know a bunch of my colleagues do not have that type of relationship with their leadership.
It's when my background as an attorney comes in and I use the phrase, let me refresh your recollection. And I will often remind people of the 60-page deck that I shared with them and reasons why or why not we don't do certain things?
Well, at our college, I'm not on the leadership team, but we report directly to cabinet member, and our relationship with especially our president is really a great one. And I think there's a lot of the reason for that is just a lot of building trust, kind of like what you've said with showing a little bit of the behind the scenes, how we do things, why we do them, showing the data, as you mentioned, which has been very important for our leadership to see. And I think that those are essential things for just kind of building trust. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I agree 100%. I think just like showing a child how to tie their shoe, right? Teaching them why, how, and the end result is just really important.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering if, before we close out, if we can go back to basics and you can freshen our collection, not refresh our recollection, but freshen our collection. Just maybe some tips or advice you would offer anyone who's coming from the private sector or the corporate sector into higher education. Some things that might help them out as they make that transition.
One of the first things I learned is that you're not going to learn everything or know everything overnight, and that the cycle for higher education is a 1 year, 2 year, if not 3 year cycle. And until you get through 3 years and see things time and time again, you're really not going to have a full understanding of marcom in higher education. That was advice given to me at the start of my journey, and it has proven out as I'm going on my 5th year, going through my 4th series of graduation ceremonies, again, not for one college, but 2. It's gotten easier as I have moved forward. The other thing my team put together is what we call the marketing circle of life, that really flows from fall, the start of the fall semester, into the spring semester, and into the summer semester. And we've tagged it with events, we've tagged it with marketing campaign timing, we've tagged it with check-ins, and it just really has painted a picture for the marketing team ourselves to really get the sense of what that student journey is. And that's another asset that I've used to share with leadership to show that marketing is paying attention year-round in this cyclical student journey.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree about that time period you're talking about. I think that plays out, that someone, particularly in marketing, to really get a full grasp of what's happening, has to live through a full enrollment cycle for each semester you're enrolling, and then also a full academic year in total. So it's like a minimum of a year if you're starting right at the start of an academic year. But it really is like you need to understand the student journey, but you also have to understand like the infrastructure of the college you're working with, policies, bureaucracy, all that kind of stuff. And it takes time.
The other advice I would share is working in higher education is at a very slow pace. Coming from the corporate sector, I'm used to working at a very, very fast pace, and especially because our colleges are part of the higher system office, there are often things that we can't execute at the local level without approval from the system office. So that was another thing for me that I needed to learn to slow down a little bit and try to be patient and to wait for answers.
Yeah, you get to breathe a little. Imagine
Correct.
that
Yes.
you don't, you can actually come up for air sometimes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us, Lisé. Really enjoyed having you on the podcast, and congratulations again on your Rising Star Award.
Thank you. I hope these insights will help somebody else who is in the same position as I am.
Can You Make It Pretty is presented by the National Council for Marketing and Public Relations. NCMPR is the country's premier group for PR, communications, and marketing pros at 2-year colleges. Can You Make It Pretty is mixed by Bill Aldridge at Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois, and produced by me. I'm Jacqueline Johanna Garver, and I'm the Communication and DEI Manager for NCMPR. Can You Make It Pretty is available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. If you like what you've heard, we'd love it if you subscribed, downloaded, rated, and reviewed.